Ethan Parker had always chased stories in abandoned places, but the Blackwood Hotel made him pause. Its silhouette loomed through the dense fog, isolated on the outskirts of a valley that seemed carved from shadows themselves. The main gates hung crookedly, groaning under the wind, the paint peeling in long vertical strips like old scars. Local townspeople had refused to talk about it. Only vague warnings whispered through the fog. Some doors aren't meant to be opened. People went inside and never returned. Despite this, Ethan pressed forward. Journalists like him thrived on the unknown. Fear was just part of the story, or so he thought. The main doors were cold iron, rusted in some areas, yet opened without resistance. Inside, the lobby stretched before him like a frozen memory. Dust drifted in the weak light of broken chandeliers, and the air smelled faintly of mildew and iron. Faded portraits lined the walls, all with eyes that seemed unervingly aware. Each brushstroke of past faces whispered secrets he could not decipher. At the reception, a woman named Clara emerged from the shadows. Pale, delicate, almost translucent. Her expression was too composed, her movements deliberate. "You're here for the documentary?" "Yes, Ethan Parker," he said, showing his press credentials. She handed him a key, room 207. "Avoid the East Wing after midnight," she murmured, voice low but unsettling. Even as Ethan left her, her eyes followed him down the hallway, impossible to shake. The room was deceptively normal. A neatly made bed, a polished wardrobe, and a nightstand with a single lamp. Yet, in the corners, shadows seemed heavier, thicker, as though they absorbed the faint light. The wallpaper peeled slightly in one corner, revealing what looked like scratches or claw marks, faint and almost imperceptible. He set up his camera and began recording a short introduction. "I'm Ethan Parker, in room 207 of Blackwood Hotel." The hotel reopened after decades. Locals speak of disappearances of guests who never left. "Tonight, we'll discover the truth." Hours passed. The room's heating system hummed faintly, then stopped. Silence fell thick, suffocating. From the hallway came whispers, indistinct at first, then clear. "You shouldn't be here." Ethan grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside. The corridor stretched impossibly long, walls narrowing and stretching as if the building itself were alive. Doors on either side breathed faintly, exhaling cold air on his skin. At the far end of the hall was a door that wasn't on any floor plan. Black, unnumbered, slightly ajar. A soft, pulsating glow emanated from within. Inside, an antique mirror reflected something impossible. Ethan's reflection was there, but behind him, shadowy figures flickered in and out of existence. Faces of past guests appeared for a heartbeat, all staring silently. He spun around. Empty room. The door slammed shut. A soft, almost inaudible laughter echoed through the hall. The hotel had noticed him. Recalling Clara's warning, Ethan hesitated at the East Wing corridor. The hallway smelled of cold stone, damp and metallic. The walls were lined with old, peeling wallpaper. He noticed faint inscriptions scratched into the paint. Dozens of names, some overwritten, some partially erased. As he advanced, the temperature dropped. Frost formed along the edges of doors, even though no heat source had been active. Whispering voices surrounded him. Hundreds of them overlapping, impossible to separate. "Remember, join us, stay." One room door opened on its own. Room 214. Inside, a chair and a typewriter sat on the desk. A single sheet of paper had words typed by a hand that wasn't visible. "Another guest has arrived. He will become part of us." The typewriter clicked once, as though confirming his presence. Ethan fled, only to find that the hallway had changed. He turned left. The same door he just passed was now behind him, glowing faintly. The hotel was alive, reshaping itself to trap him. Ethan stumbled into the grand lobby, now subtly altered. Chandeliers tilted unnaturally. Portraits of past guests lined the walls, all staring directly at him. One figure moved, Clara, flickering through decades of age in seconds. Young, old, decayed. Her voice whispered in his ear. The hotel doesn't just keep the body. It keeps the mind. The air thickened. Shadows pressed from the corners. Reflections multiplied in every surface. Ethan's camera caught hundreds of his own images, each holding a flashlight, each watching him. And in the far mirror, a single reflection smiled. Not him, but something inhuman. If you felt the chills from this story, make sure to subscribe to Machine Malice. Ethan Parker's hands shook as he backed away from the mirror in room 214. The reflection was no longer just a reflection. It was alive, breathing, flickering, warping his face into dozens of horrifying versions of himself. He stumbled through the East Wing corridor, each step echoing unnaturally. The hallway stretched and warped, doors appearing and vanishing at will. At the far end, he entered a hallway that seemed impossibly long, walls blackened, the air thick. Faint silhouettes moved along the edges of his vision, guests from decades past. Some played cards, others drank tea. Some simply stared silently, faces twisted into unreadable expressions. Whispers rose, overlapping, echoing from nowhere. Join us. You belong here, remember? Ethan tried to turn back, but the hallway had vanished. Behind him, the wall pulsed as if it were a living organ. The floorboards creaked, bending under invisible weight. Every room he passed now held mirrors or photographs of himself. Hundreds of Ethans, each frozen mid-action. Smiling, screaming, reaching. One mirror flickered and he saw a version of himself sitting at a typewriter, writing his own name into a ledger he couldn't see. The realization hit him cold. The hotel was not only alive, it was shaping reality itself. Ethan stumbled into the abandoned lobby. The reception desk had transformed. An enormous guest ledger lay open, pages wrinkled and alive. Hundreds of names filled it, some crossed out, some fresh, some glowing faintly. And at the bottom, one line pulsed in wet ink. Ethan Parker, room 207. Checked in, 11:43 p.m. Checked out, pending. The hotel whispered around him. And in the shadows, figures emerged. Former guests, translucent, reaching through walls, their eyes hollow and pleading. Remember us? Stay. Help us leave. Ethan realized these were not ghosts, not memories. They were minds trapped, preserved, trapped in the folds of the hotel's consciousness. Every guest who had disappeared over decades was folded into the very fabric of Blackwood Hotel. He pressed on, compelled by a mix of curiosity and fear. The east wing stretched impossibly, endless doors lined the walls. Each opened into a different era. 1920s suites, 1950s parlors, 1970s lounges. Shadows moved in each room, mimicking life. Arguments, laughter, cries of anguish. And in each reflection or window, Ethan saw himself again. Sometimes distorted, sometimes replaced entirely by another version of him. A faint smell of burning filled the air. The floorboards cracked, revealing glimpses of a deeper level. A basement-like underworld glowing faint red. Whispered voices beckoned him downward. Come, see, join, never leave. Ethan entered a massive hallway lined with mirrors. Hundreds of his reflections stared back. Each blinked independently. Some mouthed silent warnings. Others grinned, eyes hollow. One mirror rippled. Something reached out. A shadowed hand, impossibly long, clawed, pressing against the glass. Ethan tried to run, but the mirrors multiplied, folding the hallway infinitely. The whispers crescendoed. The hotel remembers. You are part of it now. Suddenly, he realized the walls themselves were recording him, storing every memory, every step, every terrified thought. The Blackwood Hotel was not just a place. It was a mind, and it wanted to grow. From the shadows emerged Clara, flickering through decades of age. Young, old, and somewhere between death and life. You can leave, she whispered, but only if the hotel allows it. The doors to the outside shimmered like heat waves. Ethan ran toward them. The floors twisted beneath him. Staircases spiraled upward then downward simultaneously. Every step forward seemed to fold him back into the lobby. Why won't it let me go? He screamed. It doesn't want your body, Clara said. It wants your mind and your memory. You are already part of it. Shadows pressed against him from all directions, pulling at his arms, faces pressing from mirrors and walls. Every door he opened now led to himself, trapped in slightly different moments, repeating actions endlessly. Desperate, Ethan found a stairwell that led upward. Light poured faintly from a crack above. He sprinted, lungs burning, hoping to reach the outside world. At the top, he burst into a vast hall. Chandeliers hung impossibly high, shadows swirled like smoke, and hundreds of figures watched silently. Guests, staff, previous explorers, all trapped for decades. One figure stepped forward, a younger version of himself, smiling eerily. The air grew heavy, suffocating. The red recording light on his camera blinked endlessly. He realized the truth. The hotel didn't just trap guests. It rewrote them into its memory, creating infinite loops of consciousness, ensuring no one ever truly left. The exit shimmered, just visible, but each step forward folded space, bringing him back to the lobby. The mirrors pulsed. The shadows leaned closer. The whispers rose to a deafening crescendo. Stay, remember, join us. Ethan sank to the floor, clutching his camera. The red recording light captured everything. The flickering lights, the shifting corridors, the hundreds of versions of himself. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, he was lost in the infinite memory of Blackwood Hotel. And yet, as the whispers swirled around him, he had one thought. Document this. Let someone know what Blackwood Hotel is. Let someone know what it does. The mirrors pulsed again. The shadows shifted. And in the faintest corner of a reflection, he saw a new figure approaching the hotel, curious, unaware, about to become the next guest. The Blackwood Hotel waits. It watches. It remembers. Every guest who enters becomes part of its endless corridors of horror. If you survive this story and want more realistic, terrifying, haunted hotel experiences, make sure to subscribe to Machine Malice. Enter the shadows with us if you dare.